What's up, folks? It's Thursday. I actually just said it was Wednesday, but it's actually Thursday. Light breeze. We got a storm getting ready to blow through. How's everybody doing? Doing okay? I hope so. You know, I had to leave out this morning, take care of an errand, and there was something I wanted to share with you guys. Um, long time ago, since I've been here, but I just didn't know how to formulate it. Then today, when I was walking back, riding back to my place, it clicked. What I want to share with you, family. See, a lot of people, you hear a lot of people nowadays, there's a division in regards to uh, positive thinking. Some people call it manifestations. Some people identify it as synchronicity or synchronistic events. Some also call it cause and effect. You may know it as karma. And, you know, when I came back, pulled in, reflecting on, how I drive around here, the very first thing I noticed was here on the island, the island area code is 808, right? It is very, very common that you see license plates that have 8 in it or 888. And when I saw that, I was like, this is not coincidental. And I knew what was being shown was synchronistic and downright spiritual validation. So what am I alluding to? See, some of you may follow geometry, numerology. Um, some of you may embrace the holistic way of life, and that's great. But I realized when I got here, how I got here, I knew, it didn't speak on it, that divine intervention was at play. I'll explain. For those who understand numerology and how you can identify your life number, and it goes deep. And I remember one time before I even, this was my reality. I remember I sat down, I started peeling the onion of numerology, and I'm just going to skim through it. You take your name and you simplify that numerically. And each number has a definitive meaning of what it represents. So, going down the proverbial rabbit hole, I started to see certain nuances. I started to dig even deeper when I started to look at the places that I had reside, the addresses that they were. They all came up under the symbology of number 8. So today, as I was riding home, it hit me I said, there's no way you can have a perspective or a viewpoint where you believe things that are being shown is based off of fate. Now, I get it. You got some folks that their perspective is if I cannot feel it, it's not real. They have a speculative position, and rightfully so. But then there are certain things that will transpire that you cannot explain, but you have to unconditionally trust. For example, you breathing, ain't you? You can't see the air that comes in your life, but you rely on life. Your sacred organs, they function without your control, but you trust that it does. So I started to ponder and reflect even more. Now I'm a strong proponent of the term manifestation because if you simplify it, this goes back to biblical doctrine. If you think back, what was Genesis about? Before creation, everything was created by the Word. And then therefore it was. I'm paraphrasing it. So I can look at that and say, or see the correlation of what your elders may have told you of the proverbial saying, be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. Now, with that being said, I used to always echo this. What is sent out will return. Sender receiver. That to the average person is communication. That's no different than if I take a stone and put it in a body of water that was calm, which is never calm because underneath is always activity. I drop that pebble there. It causes a ripple effect. The ripple effect will get larger and larger until you cannot see it, but eventually that same action will have a reaction, and that reaction will return for whence it came. That is why, proverbially, you may have seen this conflict. Someone says something, it is interpreted and met with the same action. Say that with positivity. Someone acknowledges, they validate, they react by embodying said acknowledgement. You've heard people constantly tell you words have power. Words are frequency. How does that play out when it comes to the term manifestation? I've done videos on this before in the past. And I can't make it more clear. Like, for example, this is my Jeep. This is my baby. Originally, back in 2010 or 11, I had a green one. But because of how I was moving, how my frequency of how I was trying to navigate my life, I would lose it. Not because I didn't want to, not because I didn't have the funds at the time, but it was a snowball effect of how things were playing out that it got beyond my control. And then, mind you, in the midst of that, I'm in a tumultuous relationship. I was at the lowest position of my life that I thought emotionally. Not to the point that I was considering um, suicide or harm. But what you're looking at is a man that was that was emotionally broken. I wouldn't be surprised in the midst of that. I had I had a nervous breakdown because I was unstable emotionally. But even through all that, family, I still had enough love within myself to keep trying, to never give up. And I remember when I was in the midst of that, um, I've never been a prideful person. I've always been the type of person that if anything is meant for me to have, Most High will make a way when there is no way. You just gotta be committed to the journey. But at that time, I was at wit's end, and it would cause me to to do something that I thought I never could do, and that was to um, be humbled to the point that I had to go to my parents for assistance. And I was down, and I know some people are like, "Well, what's wrong with that?" Well, I've always had respect for my dad. My dad's always been my superhero, you know, and my mom, you know, my mom always had no cut cards, because you're the son. She was always the one like, you need to stand up, you need to work through this. She never sugarcoated anything. She just never did. So for me to get to that point of humility, it took everything in my being for that to fall from my mouth, because I'd always been independent ever since I was 14 years old. When I was 14 years old, I had my first job. That was my first, actually technically 12, because I was that kid in the neighborhood who used to push the lawnmower. And a lot of that was because I wanted to show my parents that I was responsible. Because when you're in your early teens, the biggest moments in your life is back to school. But the biggest reality is when your parents are paying for your clothes, because they're gonna dictate what you can wear and what you can't. So me trying to be strategic, I said, well, you know what? I'm gonna earn what I need to buy my clothes, and if I do that, then they really don't have a say. So I thought. And so fast forward, you know, 20 years later, I'm in this situation with my Jeep. I got to come up with $5,000. If I don't come up with $5,000, they're gonna come and get it. They're gonna come repo. And mind you, how this whole thing had set up, um, I had a expedition, and this is when they were starting the new programs where the clunkers for cash. Well, the expedition I had, there was nothing wrong with it. It was an older model, it had high mileage on it, but I babied it, so I was great. I didn't need a new vehicle, but I happened to go by the dealership and I saw this Wrangler, and it was like a emerald green, and it was a hard top, and I instantly fell in love with it. It was a lemon, had a bad engine, and so what ended up happening is the engine had a problem. They didn't want to honor the warranty, and so I called myself, well, you're not going to get another payment from me until you fix this problem, because I only had it for, it was less than a year. I don't even think it was 6 months. So now they have the grounds, well, we're going to come and get it. And my position was, with all the stress from being in a tumultuous relationship, um, I was like, nah, well, you got to do what you got to do. Fast forward, I'm trying to regroup my life. I leave out the relationship. Um, my parents are gracious enough to let me move back home. I'm a grown ass man, but emotionally, I was distraught. And I still think these right here are from the tears I cried. You know, if y'all remember the song Cry Me a River by Justin Timberlake, that was me. That was me. I was broken. I couldn't even turn the music, I couldn't turn the radio on, because it would be certain songs that I would, if I would hear a lyric or something, it would break me. Because I genuinely was, so I thought, in love with someone that I wanted to marry, but come to find out, this person didn't even love themselves. They were only looking out for themselves. And no matter what I tried to do, they didn't appreciate it. So, fast forward, we're in the moment. I finally had the courage to talk to my mom. Hey, look, this is a situation. Can you loan me some money? Of course, I got to ask my dad. And it was, a couple of days go by. My dad calls, because my dad was a contractor at the time. And I remember that call like it was yesterday. With respect, I explained the scenario. I told him, hey, I have the money. I can't get access to it for 10 days. However, I need access to this money in 5. And I was like, I'll pay interest, whatever. Can you just help me out of this jam? And I'll never forget my father, my dad telling me, he said, listen, this is what you do. You need to go downstairs, take a picture of that vehicle, because they're going to take it. My heart fell on the floor. I didn't understand. I was like, wow, because I'd always been the type of person that I didn't like asking my parents for nothing. I always wanted to do it myself. And so when my dad said that, I felt betrayed. But then, respectfully, I was silent. And then he told me, he said, yeah, I can help you. That's not a problem. But until you're willing to help yourself, I can't protect you. So I had to go through the proverbial embarrassment of your vehicle getting repoed, or basically watching things play out that you had no control of. But really, you did. You did. So, fast forward. I ended up, I find out where they took it. I still had stuff in it, because I hadn't transitioned back to my parents. So I had clothes in there. I had, some of my possessions in there. So when I found out, I went over there. the the yard boss where they keep all the vehicles that are going to be shipped out of the area because of voluntary and involuntary repossession. I explained to him what was going on, and he said, "Look, um, here's your key. I'm gonna give you all the time you need to take all your stuff, take it all out, make sure everything, and then take the tags off of it because the state has custody of it." I did so, and once I got everything out that I needed, took the tags off last, gave the key back to the guy, I left. And when I left, family, I made a promise to myself that I would never allow myself to be put in a situation such as that. Meaning controls over decisions made. Why am I telling you this? So I also had another vehicle. Never drove it. So it forced me to get that one road ready, and I did. You know, um, and I made a promise to myself. I said that if the next vehicle that I decide to purchase, not only will it be what I desire, but it will exceed my expectations. I wanted another Jeep. So 2 years would pass. I'm rolling down the road. I happen, oh, the dealerships at the time were doing this little program where to get you in to their dealership, they would put like a mock key on the flyer and say, well, hey, come on into the dealership. If it you know how they're doing the price is right, you got all the keys, and if the right key comes around and starts the car, it's yours. Well, I ain't want to I ain't want to do all that. And I knew at that time those keys cost a lot of money. Um, I mean, they're like, to make them, at that time, they was like $150 a shot, especially with the fobs and stuff. They were expensive. So I don't know what I was thinking, but I said, well, you know what? I don't want to partake into that. I just want to turn the key back in because that was money that they spent. I don't know what I was thinking. I was trying to do the right thing. So, nonetheless, while I'm there, of course, there's a sales agent, and I tell him right off the bat, I say, listen, hey, I'm here for this, just to turn this in. And he spends it like, well, look, well, the money you make, because I make good money. The problem was, I just came out of a bad relationship, and my credit had took a beating because of it. Because trying to be a responsible man, you paying a bills, you're doing what you think a man is supposed to do. I was hell bent on not trying to get ensnared into a gimmick. So I told the guy very respectfully, I said, listen, I just want to turn this key in. Eventually I might come back. But I have no intentions on buying, committing to a contract or nothing. I just don't. And then he wasn't trying to hear it. So I was blunt. I said, listen, I just came out of a toxic ass relationship. She tore my credit up. There's no way I would be eligible with the right APR to even think of getting a vehicle. Because a lot of times back then, the sales guys they just want to put you in the vehicle. Either they would drop the price and give you a balloon payment, and then what ends up happening, you default, and guess what? They got you. And I was like, look here, man, I ain't feeling that. So I left. And a week would go by. I would have a message on my answer machine from the dealership manager. And in short, he said, I was there when you came in. I was impressed that you took it upon yourself to return our property. And um, I was very humbled to see your sincerity about it. And I want to do something for you. So we was on the phone for about 20 minutes, and I said, look, this is where I am. Um, and I tried to be subtle. Actually, I was calling myself trying to be sarcastic. So I would respond like, well, this is what I make, and this is my credit score, where I know anybody within their right mind, this person's ineligible. Don't waste your time or energy. That's not a good candidate. I worked retail for 17 years before I decided to go into pursue the service. So I know how to sell, upsell, and close a sale. I know very well. Well, the dealership manager was not swayed. He actually said, listen, if you give me 30 minutes of your time, I guarantee you're going to be happy. I just ask at your leisure to please come by, ask for me directly. I think I waited another 3 weeks. I ain't had nothing to do. The new Jeep set came out, and I was just kind of curious to see what had changed from the 2010 that I had. And I went over there. I asked for the dealership manager. He came out. I explained to him who I was, and he instantly come into my office, and we sat down and we talked, and I kind of explained my situation. I said, yeah, I could tell you were having a rough go, but then he revealed to me when he heard me, it reminded him of himself. I reminded him of me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, my tongue's tied. Reminded him of when he was in the same situation. Thank you. So, once again, I had no intent. Now, mind you, my other vehicle was a 1995 Isuzu Rodeo. Paint was starting to fade, but I babied that. That was my very first vehicle that I owned outright. And at that time, so it's 2014. At that time, yeah, 2014. My 1995 only had 110,000 miles on it. Let that sink in. That means I barely drove it. I mean, long enough to start it up, A to B, blah, blah, but I would end up having that vehicle for 26 years. Before I transitioned to Hawaii, I actually sold it to a coworker, and it only had 115,000 miles on it. It was in mint condition. So let's get back to the dealership. So I'm sitting in there. They said, listen, yeah, we've got all these rebates and stuff that you're qualified, you're that, blah, blah, blah. But I want to do something special because I have a discount that I can implement. So, okay, now I'm like, wow, he's actually going with what is perceived as extra mile. He didn't have to. So he told me what I wanted. I told him what I desired. I wanted another Jeep. I didn't want it to have all the packages, because if anybody knows about vehicles, you save money getting buying it almost stock, but making sure that you have the proper uh, engine size. As long as the specs is what you want, the accessories you can do on your own, which you can save. It will save you $3,000 to $5,000 if you're patient enough to do it the way you want. Because a lot of people, and the reason I'm saying this because I got a feeling somebody's looking at a vehicle right now, and it's got all the bells and whistles, but the markup is so high. But yet you have another vehicle that caught your eye, and it's bare bones. Go with the bare bones one, because think about it. When you buy a new vehicle, it doesn't feel your own until you modify it in some capacity. Save your money. Don't buy what they've already done. Get what you really want and make it look like you envision it. So, with that being said, when I bought this Jeep, it was stock. Everything in there except for the engine. Um, it has the chassis is a high end like a Rubicon, and I wanted 4x4. It is. Everything else I was going to modify it myself, and that's what I ended up doing. Here's my point. Even though it took me almost 4 years, I turned what I dreamed about into a reality. See where I'm going? What I manifested is proof. And you may call it positive thinking, but anything that comes from a pure place requires execution and follow through. That's for someone. So let's expand the ripple effect even more. Prior to coming to Hawaii, literally 4 months before, I got here July 5th of 20. I got to a point where I was tired of renting. And my dad would always get on me because he says, why are you paying somebody's mortgage? He would always tell me that. He said, you're a veteran, you got your benefits, use your benefit and invest in your own. He would always tell me that for almost damn near 5 years, to a point that I wouldn't even come around because I knew I was going to get it. I know he was going to, what are you doing? Why are you renting? You're giving your money away. And he was right. He was right. So, at this time, I had been with my former employer. I hadn't broke 12 years yet, but I was getting ready to. 12 years committed to my former command. I said, you know what? I want to be a homeowner. My credit qualified. I have VA benefits. There should be no reason why I can't afford a mortgage. And then with that being said, depending on where you're at, most rental amounts are more than it would to pay a mortgage. So you're paying a convenience to not be in a situation that requires commitment for 30 years or whatever the term may be. Because some people I've seen people pay up their house in 15. Point being, so I've got this itch and I'm looking around, I'm seeing different types of homes, the architecture wise, and I'm trying to find the conceptual vision of what I really want. I knew I wanted a 3-bedroom. I knew I wanted to have some some property, because the one thing that my dad instilled in me at a very young age, I was that kid that was up on weekends cutting the grass, making sure it was up to their expectation, and that was ingrained in my psyche to be responsible, you know. And so what a lot of people don't realize is I've always had a green thumb when it comes to lawn care, and I mean, if I really wanted to, I could establish a lawn care business, and it would be very successful. Um, that was one thing that I enjoyed, because I mean, I took a pride in whatever I put my efforts in. You know, like how you see those golf courses, that's how I cut my grass. That's just what it was. Yeah, and I know it sounds kind of crazy, because you always see that one adult, they in the yard 4 hours straight. Yeah, but it's about curb appeal too. So with that being said, I'm riding around for a good month and a half, 2 months, and I eventually stumble onto this property. Corner house, 2 stories, 5 bedrooms. The backyard, it was a double garage. The backyard, the previous owner had built a separate double garage with a loft in it. And it had a 20 foot pool, embedded pool, and still you had like a quarter acre of property. It was just incredible. Now, this 5 bedroom house was almost, I want to say, 17 years old. Um, Whoever had it, they had made updated uh, modifications and stuff to be compatible. But just the property itself, it paid for itself. You know, it was one of those proverbial diamond in the rough type situations. Victorian style home. It was like a Victorian / colonial style home. I saw that house, and I knew in my spirit that is the one. And I was determined to get it. And I'm working on it, and the moment as my attention's focused on that, it's also right around the same time that I'm up for promotion. You get your annual evals, and I took pride in what I do, and I always made sure my evals was exceed expectation, ready to promote. So I finally got my paperwork ready for the house. I'm ready to go and put my bid in for the house. I get in touch with the realtor. The realtor don't call me back yet. I'm like, wow, what's going on? A day rolls by, I get a message on the phone. Gerald, this is such and such. Give me a call. I call back to be informed that literally the day that I had my stuff done, someone had already put in a bid and it had gotten accepted. There was no way I could counter it. So I was truly disappointed, because I had already envisioned what I wanted to do to that house. I'd walked around in it, and the funny thing about it was, another realtor brought me back over there. Like, no, there was a glitch. You still are in contentions on possibly buying this house. Well, she had bad information, because it would later come out that not only a day before, like, no, the owner signed off, so it was gone. Right? They sold it from under me. So fast forward. In the midst of that, I'm waiting for my debrief. because there were two supervisor positions coming up, and I knew that I was up for either one of them. I get to work, I'm waiting to hear something, and it's like nothing. I'm like, something's not right. Something's not right. Another coworker would come to me and say, "Hey, I heard about your eval. You were a number one promotee, but you know, but just out of respect, I want to let you know they've already offered the positions and they've been received by somebody else." Of course, I was in disbelief, but I had to stay professional. Plus, I had not heard it from upper management. So until I heard it from upper management, I wasn't going to believe it. This dragged on for a week. I'm already disappointed that I didn't get the house. Now I got to track down my director. And when I did, I went to his office like, "Hey, can you give me clarity on this?" And he told me. Didn't even look in my eyes. Didn't look in my eyes, because then I realized there was some okey doke going on. Now I'm leading up to everything, because I know you said this has been winded, but there's a reason. So the following week, I decide to go look at my resume that I had online. I said, you know what? I'm just going to tweak some things, make sure my stuff is up to par, make sure that what had not been noted is. And I'm just going to put it out there in the system. What's the worst thing can happen? A new opportunity. The moment I hit send, 10 days would pass, and I would get an email in my personal email, and I didn't know who that was, and they had said, "Hey, we reviewed your resume. We would like to offer you this opportunity." Of course, I'm like, that's quick. How is that possible? Yeah, whatever. Because you got bogus folks out there. So, family, I took it for a grain of salt. Start responding back as needed. 3 weeks would pass. I would get a different letter with a different letterhead, official letterhead, saying, "We would like to offer you this opportunity with this salary. We would like to know if you would be interested in taking it." Direct number now. I called and identify who I am. And it did not say where it was. So I was like, "Hey, this is Mr. Davis. I got this documentation. I just want to inquire, where exactly is this opportunity located?" And it said Pearl Harbor. Well, I only know one Pearl Harbor, and that's in Hawaii. And it said, "Yes. Yes, it is." Took a step back. I said, "Okay. So when would I need to be there?" Now, we're in the midst of the lockdown, family, because of COVID. They were like, "Look, due to the pandemic, when do you think you can transition here?" And I was like, "When do you need me there?" We decided on the applicable date, My last official working day was the 4th of July. I arrived in Honolulu the morning of the 5th. I was not playing. Not only did they meet what I make in salary, they exceeded it. So here's my point. You might be in a situation where your skies seem gray. You don't understand why things are happening the way they are. You keep your optimism, because this is how synchronicity plays. What I mean by that, for the non-believer, there were certain things that were spoken over your life. There were certain things that were spoken the moment you took your first breath. And there are certain things that are divinely meant to have to play out so that you understand why. That is what wisdom is all about. So let's recap. If I didn't go through the disappointment of not being promoted, mind you, 3 years in a row, if I had bought that house, I wouldn't be here now. So even with all that disappointment, I still kept the faith that no matter what is going on in my life, at the end of the day, I will proverbially still see my sunset. So all of those things I had to go through to prepare me for what was going to be revealed now. That's for somebody. So I can say I manifested my reality as I know it to be. And this is how I knew. When I, if you guys remember the movie, was it Night of the Museum, Ben Stiller? That's how it felt walking through the airport. You know, it was like no different like somebody walking in a mall that everything's been all the stores are closed, the power's off, it's empty, no people in there, you just walking around, you happen to be walking out or whatever, you know what I'm saying? It was like a ghost town, proverbially. You're the only one there, you don't know where you're going, and you're trying to figure it out. But you had enough trust that you would. So when I got here, when I stepped out of the airport, I still didn't know where I was going, and I had to call a cab. What do I see? Cab pulls up. It's got 888 on the license plate. When I saw that, my jaw dropped, because 888 is special to me. From a numerological point of view, that's me. So every time that there's something that I need validation on, synchronistically, if I see those series of numbers, I know that spiritually, that's the Most High saying, hey, take note of this. Hey, be aware of that. Hey, be careful of that. Some people, this will make sense. Some people, you haven't gotten that yet. Hopefully you will. But in the end, just know whatever your reality is today is not your tomorrow. It's not. So if you're in a place where it doesn't bring you peace, there's a lot of calamity going on, a lot of discord going on, I say to you, go within yourself. Reconnect to that little boy or little girl that lives in you still. You do realize you're the same person. You've just been blessed to see another season. But anything that's divinely meant for you to have, you're going to have it. It's going to come to pass. So it makes no sense for you to hold on or harbor any ill will towards people that have wronged you, people that have betrayed you, people who have unfortunately deceived you. Don't. Forgive yourself. Gain the wisdom of that experience, because that's going to define not only your legacy, but it's also going to tell you the path that you should be on. Who am I talking to? There's somebody right now, you are in an environment that you know does not serve you. You may do everything and twice on Sunday, but you still don't have no peace. I'm going to tell you this. Those natural gifts and talents that you possess are there waiting for you to unlock them so that it can be the key to unlock the other side of your life. Those experiences and disappointments that you've gone through are actually teaching you not only what not to do, but what's required for you to love yourself more. Who am I talking to? It is not someone else's responsibility to ensure that your smile is intact. But I will tell you this. The person that is in your life or requiring access to your life is also a living example of your state of mind. So if your circles is all about drama and discord, be honest with yourself. Look at how you're moving. Because they couldn't have access to you unless you had a commonality to begin with. That's why cheaters never win. They cheat themselves. And what the price is time. So, hold on to your dreams. Do the work. Some of y'all maybe, for some reason, don't want to admit that all you want is to feel emotionally safe. You want to know what it feels like to be truly loved. It starts with the person in the mirror. When you can acknowledge what is broken, take ownership on the things that need to be repaired, your smile will return. It will. The question is, why don't you think you're worth it? So I hope you guys are well. Please stay healthy. Stop worrying about the people in the cheap seats trying to convince you to do whatever. You only have one life, one temple, and it's up to you to protect it. Do what's necessary, not what is consumed. I don't want to say acceptable, but what I will say is status quo, whatever that may be. Continue to discern. And trust and believe. Everything that you desire that is in here will be revealed in the appropriate time. This is your journey. This is your journey. This is your story. So tell me again why you don't think you're worth it. I'm here to tell you, you are. Stay blessed, stay protected, but stay you. Peace.